In the middle of the Pacific, hidden among the endless waves, there exists a place that could have been the dreamed tropical paradise. In the 1970s, Nauru was synonymous with wealth and extravagance, a small island with a per capita income higher than that of the United States. But today, it is the least visited country on the planet, a heartbreaking example of how opulence can transform into decay. In that golden era, while other nations struggled for economic stability, Nauru flourished. Luxury cars, endless travels, and a life without taxes were part of everyday life. However, just like a sandcastle in front of the tide, this prosperity quickly vanished, leaving behind a desolate landscape and a collapsed economy. How did Nauru go from being one of the richest nations in the world to becoming one of the most forgotten places on the planet? Stay with us to discover why Nauru is the least visited country in the world. Nauru is a small dot in the vast Pacific Ocean, 4,000 kilometers northeast of Australia. This microstate, the third smallest in the world, covers just 21 square kilometers. To give you an idea, you could drive around the entire island in less than an hour on its only 30-kilometer road that encircles the country. Nauru is surrounded by a coral reef that makes access difficult. There is only one functional port and a runway that occupies a significant part of the island. To get here, you must fly from Australia, New Zealand, or Fiji, but flights are extremely limited, which reinforces its reputation as an almost inaccessible destination. Despite this, its natural beauty is stunning, with white sandy beaches and crystal-clear waters that contrast with its small size. However, the island lacks large infrastructures, and its few routes are located near government buildings, schools, and hospitals, all clustered together due to the island's limited dimensions. Despite its small size and limited infrastructure, the island is organized compactly. With a small railway line and no official capital, everything in Nauru is close together: schools, hospitals, and government buildings. The island does not have a main city or prominent urban centers. This fact reflects how the organization of Nauru adapts to its tiny size, where distances are irrelevant and community life prevails. Foreign embassies, for example, are not here, but in Australia, Nauru's closest ally. This dependence on Australia reflects Nauru's limitations, not only in the diplomatic realm but also in its access to the outside world. This becomes evident in the difficulties of visiting, as traveling to Nauru is not straightforward. Each year, fewer than 1,000 people arrive on this small island, making it one of the least visited countries in the world. There is no mass tourism, and the process of obtaining a visa is tedious. To travel to Nauru, you must submit a formal application to the local government, and flights to the island are extremely limited, as only one airline operates at its airport. The lack of tourist infrastructure and its remoteness contribute to this inaccessibility. There are no large hotel chains or local travel agencies, making it a challenging yet appealing destination for the more adventurous travelers. Another very curious fact about Nauru is that it has no armed forces. In case of emergencies or international conflicts, Australia takes care of its defense. This dependence also extends to internal security issues and other logistical needs. In addition to its dependence on defense and security matters, Nauru faces unique challenges that go beyond the political. One of the most surprising is its alarming statistic. It is the country with the highest obesity rate in the world. More than 80% of the population faces this condition, a problem that dates back to the devastation of its natural resources. When phosphate mining depleted the fertile lands, Nauruans began to rely on imported processed foods. This, combined with a sedentary lifestyle, has led to a health crisis that includes high rates of diabetes and cardiovascular diseases, and not only that. Smoking is also a significant problem. Nauru has one of the highest tobacco consumption rates in the world, with studies showing that up to 90% of adults are regular smokers. This not only directly affects the health of its population, with high rates of respiratory and cardiovascular diseases, but also impacts its economy. A large portion of household spending is allocated to the purchase of imported tobacco, which limits the resources available for other needs. This high dependence on tobacco dates back to the time of prosperity, when smoking was seen as a symbol of status and wealth. However, today, tobacco is a key factor in the country's health crisis, exacerbating issues such as obesity and diabetes, and leaving local health institutions overwhelmed and ill-prepared to address these chronic conditions. The high consumption of tobacco and the obesity problem are deeply linked to the history of Nauru. In the 1970s, Nauru was known as the richest island in the world. Its economy depended almost exclusively on the export of phosphate, a resource formed from bird droppings over millennia. In its golden age, the per capita income of Nauruans surpassed that of any other country. This wealth was reflected in a life of opulence. Nauruan families acquired luxury cars such as Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Rolls-Royce, a rarity in such a small country. Nauruans regularly traveled abroad, enjoying exotic destinations and spending without worries. With no taxes to pay, their lifestyle was seen as a dream come true. However, this prosperity did not last. Mismanagement and waste left the country bankrupt. Phosphate reserves were quickly depleted, and attempts to diversify the economy failed. The exploitation of phosphate not only emptied Nauru's coffers, but also destroyed its ecosystem. 80% of the island became unusable for agriculture or any other productive use. Australia and New Zealand greatly benefited from this wealth, leaving behind a barren land and a collapsed economy. Today, the inhabitants of Nauru face an uncertain future. The economy mainly relies on fishing, which generates limited income due to the overexploitation of its waters by foreign fleets, and a controversial detention center for refugees funded by Australia. This center, while providing a source of income to the government, has been heavily criticized by international organizations for the conditions in which the refugees are held. Unemployment is alarmingly high, affecting a large part of the active population. As a result, many young people see few opportunities in their homeland and choose to emigrate to Australia or New Zealand in search of a better future. This brain drain has left Nauru with a rapidly aging population, exacerbating the economic and social challenges of the island. However, what surprises visitors the most is the contrast between the luxuries of the past and the current reality. As you tour the island, it is common to find abandoned luxury cars, such as Mercedes-Benz and BMW, which were once symbols of wealth. Today, these rusted relics serve as a silent reminder of an era of opulence that has crumbled. Meanwhile, many families who once enjoyed this splendor now live in humble conditions, trying to rebuild their lives in an environment that offers few opportunities. Despite its turbulent history, Nauru remains a place of resilient people. The lesson from this small island is clear. Natural wealth does not guarantee well-being if it is not managed wisely. Perhaps one day, Nauru will become a paradise again, not only for those who visit but for those who call it home.